Welcome back to Rebel Roots. We have a doctor in the house, Mrs. Dr. Ellen Elliott, and we're going to kind of hear her stories. We've met through Toastmasters, which I've been there almost a year,
Yes.
and she's in the process of writing a book. And I've heard a couple of your speeches, but we've never this will be our first official,
That's true.
non-interrupting conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And
This should be fun.
I know. And I just from the speeches that I've heard from Toastmasters, I know there's a big story behind all this. And the first
Okay.
thing that I usually do is just ask my guests, tell me what kind of child you were growing up, school, were you a good student? Were you the one back in the corner that didn't say a word, or were you the most talkative
Mhm.
clown in there, or just to kind of give us a backstory?
I was a shy kid and a really great student early on. I had open heart surgery as
What
a
age?
child, 5 years
5.
old.
Can I ask what was wrong? Why?
Tetralogy of Fallot. So there was a
Okay.
time that there were blue babies.
My
And
sister
I
was a
was
blue baby.
I was a blue baby. And so I had surgery when I was 5, a corrective surgery. And so for years, because this was a long time ago, and because it was a heart condition, I couldn't play. So I had a doctor's note to stay out of PE
Oh,
for until I was 13.
okay.
So, once I was able to go play, I didn't know how. I didn't know the rules to any games. I had never played kickball or dodgeball or any of those things. So,
Which was
um,
probably kind of bad for social skills, right?
it was terrible for
Right.
social skills. Yes.
I could
Yeah.
just imagine the kids. And
Yeah.
kids were, I feel like, maybe a little bit meaner. I don't know. Do you think kids were meaner
Well, I
back
don't
then
think
than they
they
are
really
now? Understood.
understood,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have to dress out and everybody else did. And so, there was
You
all
were
of
getting
that.
special treatment.
I got special treatment, but where I shined was academics. So I read. I used books because I couldn't play on the playground.
Oh,
So that also meant a weight problem. So, later on, then I had this pretty significant, very significant weight issue through the rest of high school and into my 20s.
okay.
So,
It, yeah,
yes.
and my sister, she was a blue baby too, but her
Hmm.
started at as soon as they brought her home, so it was super early with her.
Okay.
But I totally understand not playing on
Hmm.
the playground. Like my mom would always say, she's like, your sister's heart's going to explode. We're just
Yes.
like, why is it exploding? But it
Yes.
was just because she
Yeah.
couldn't get it beaten so much per minute and all
Absolutely.
that. So it was very
And
sheltered for
if
her
that had
too.
happened now, they would have had me on a treadmill before I ever left the
Right.
hospital. But back then, it was, oh no, because if you exert yourself, you're going to die.
So you started
Yeah.
playing on the playground at
Hmm.
13. You're doing good grades.
Hmm.
Where do you go from? What happens
Well,
after
there
this?
were some abusive things in my home that happened around the same time. So 12 and 13 that was just really difficult years. There was I was abused by my father, and so social services was called. There was all of that at the same time. I suddenly had to go on a playground, and I never had before. So it was a really
Y-
difficult time.
Super tough. It sounds.
Yes, yeah. So then high school was tough. Things at home were tough. Things at school were tough, and so I dropped out of high school as soon as I could.
What age was that? Like your
Um,
freshman or
16, so I was
a
in my
junior,
sophomore year,
sophomore?
but the sophomore year, I didn't really go to school very much. So, um,
So were your parents in the picture at that point when you dropped out?
yes, my father had left the home,
Okay.
and mom was still there, and she had gone to nursing school. So her life completely changed too. There was a lot of disruption, and life changed
Did you have
completely.
siblings?
Yes, I did. I had a younger sister who was affected a lot by all of the things that were going on. something interesting about her. So my sister was such an important part of my life and my story overall. Because I was a blue baby, my parents were told that if they wanted to have another child, that they should go ahead and do that because chances of me living very
Right.
long were not good. So my sister was planned in case they needed a replacement.
Boy, growing up, I'm
I,
I mean, yes, for you too, but if,
Mhm.
for her too, like that was kind of, I'm sure, mental stress
Absolutely.
that
So
I'm the
there was,
replacement in case she
Mhm.
goes away,
Yes. So she was wonder child. She shined. She truly did. She was an incredible human being.
Was she also abused by your dad?
No,
No, it
no,
was just you.
no. She had a way of staying on the outside of things and shining from a distance.
So you
Hmm.
drop out of high school.
Yes. Yes, I did.
What does mom say? She's like, get a job, or did you?
I already had a job.
Okay.
I started working at 14 in a library to start out, and then I had a lot of jobs. I worked at the a library. I sold cookware and knives
Oh my,
for a while.
that was a thing back then.
It was. It was. I went door to door. But of course, once I ran out of family members and friends, that career was over.
I've heard the same story multiple times.
Yes,
As soon as
yeah,
all my family and friends bought the knives,
exactly.
like it was
Yes,
done.
yes.
Same time with
They all still have them. They were great knives. They
things were
were
just made
really
different
great
back
knives.
then.
They were. Yes, yes.
All right.
Um,
So, well, go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Then I
I mean,
worked on a popsicle machine for a few years for a dairy.
uh, okay.
Yes, yeah, I did that for a while. And then that was right after I quit school, just after I quit going to school.
So I introduced you as Dr. Ellen.
Yes.
How did, okay, from a dropout to doctor,
Mm.
okay, fill me in all of this.
Okay. Yes. So I spent my teens living in my car, um, working at a dairy. Yeah, it was an interesting time. And then I met my husband, the man who would be my husband for a short, brief period of time. But we had a child, and having a child did something for me. I became a little more serious about life. And so when she was 9 months old, I went back to school.
Okay.
And then I became a professional student.
So got your GED and then went to
Yes.
college right after that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I got my GED actually before I would have graduated from high school. So I did at least do that with the intention of going to college. I just didn't make it then.
No.
And so then, yes, I went to the community college and finished there and then went on. And it took a long time. I mean, I was going part time a lot and raising a child. And so, yeah, I was in school for a long time.
Now, I also know from your Toastmaster
Mhm.
speeches that you travel quite a lot.
Yes.
I mean, we just
Yes.
saw the whole speech with
Mhm.
everywhere where you've been, and it's some pretty cool places that you. When did that? So, I'm assuming you raised. Did she travel with you, your daughter?
She has.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Some, as much as possible. Um, so while I was in graduate school, I had an opportunity to go. So my background is addictions. So I was in a program for addictions
You
as a
personally?
therapist.
Okay. No, this is
Yeah.
what you're gonna.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I married an alcoholic and divorced him, which made me very interested in. First, I was taking classes to save my marriage, and then decided that wasn't working, And so, but I got really interested in the addictions field. So I finished a degree in social work and then went on to graduate school for a master's degree in addictions. And while I was there, the study abroad program was in Bolivia to study coca production.
Okay.
That was my first international trip to Bolivia, and I loved it. It was, I
You
didn't
got the
realize
bug.
there was a world out there.
Right.
This,
Because
yeah,
most of us didn't,
right, right.
when we grew up
Yeah,
there.
I grew up in this little place, um, High Point, North Carolina, and I mean, California was like Mars growing
Right.
up. It may as well have been. And so, yeah, now I've been to 50 states and 47 countries or something like that. I don't know, somewhere around 47 countries.
Oh my gosh.
And several that I've gone back to numerous times, particularly Nepal.
So that's a lot of traveling to
Yes.
complete in, I mean, you're not that old.
And I started late because I went to graduate school late.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. My first time out of the country, I guess I was 35, 34 or 35.
That's
Yes. And but I loved it.
no, to travel that much, you have to
Mhm.
love it
Yes.
because otherwise, I couldn't. I have no desire to travel.
Really?
I know. Everyone gives me that same reaction, but
Mhm.
I am just such a homebody, and I don't know. I just don't like the whole stress of TSA. And I know that sounds so weird, but and then the delays, and I'm just not that patient of a person. I'll go once or twice a year, but
Mhm.
to travel as much as you have, I don't think I would have had the patience. I would have probably been blackballed on TSA at some point.
Well, airports are less fun than they used to be, but I still love airports. It is the most fascinating people from everywhere. It's like the mall at Christmas, right? Like people who never come out travel once in a while and go to the mall at Christmas.
Such a good people watching. Yeah.
Yes,
I do
it
like the
really
people
is.
watching. I'm just like,
Yeah.
where do these people come from?
Yeah.
So go back to the addiction. Do you still practice for therapist or therapy and
Yes.
addiction?
Yeah. My specialty now is trauma and addictions. Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that because it's kind of fascinating that you specialize in that.
Okay. Yeah. I really love the addictions field. I think I always knew I wanted to be a counselor, but I didn't. I thought that I wanted to work with young people at some point, and then during the marriage with my husband, I realized that I was so fascinated. I didn't grow up knowing anything about addiction, and so it was a different world to me. I am very curious about everything. And so I wanted to find out why. How did it work? How was it that so during that time when I married my husband, I was extremely overweight. Um and he was 115 pounds soaking wet. What I couldn't understand was how was he able to drink so much more than me and handle it. So, if you use those calculations that if you weigh this much and you drink this much, it didn't work. So he could drink a 12 pack and I had 3 beers and would throw up. It just didn't
Right.
make sense.
No, I
And
totally
he was
understand.
just getting started after the 12. So I wanted to understand. I wanted somebody to help make some sense of what that was to me. And so I just went on sort of a journey of trying to answer the question. And,
Did you
um,
solve it?
what I found out is that there's genetics, there's environment, there is brain chemistry. There's a lot of different factors. But yes, there are more answers than questions now.
Is there signs that you can predetermine before you get with someone about an addictive behavior?
Well, ironically, there's genetic testing. that you can do. You know, I used to joke with clients, if you're in here and in some of the groups that I was doing, and you wonder what your most likely drug of choice is, my guess is you already did the experiential learning, so you don't really need the
to
test.
keep experimenting. You
Yes,
probably
yes.
have figured it out by this point.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But some of the testing can not only say whether or not you have a predisposition for something like alcoholism or drug addiction, but also what would your most likely drug of choice be?
I felt like my parents, or not my parents, my
Mhm,
grandfather was an alcoholic, and then
mhm,
my dad had started down the path of alcoholism, but he
mhm.
caught it. He he found the
Yeah.
pattern that he was doing, and then just stopped drinking altogether, which was
Good for
pretty
him.
cool. And he's
Yes.
like that. If
Mhm,
he was smoking cigarettes, he could just be like, today is the last one, and he would never
mhm.
pick it up again, which was crazy to me.
Okay.
Um, but I always, they always kind of told me, they're like, you have alcoholism running in your family,
Mhm.
so
So be
be
careful.
very careful.
Yes.
Well, I would probably say in my late 20s
Mm-hmm.
is when I started going down the path of that.
Okay.
And kind of similar to my dad, when I decided like bodybuild, I just stopped and I didn't drink another drop for 8 years.
Okay.
But what my question was is
Mhm,
that I feel like every one of us has addictive behavior, right? It's just I always say I traded the gym for the
mhm.
alcohol. And when I focus on something, then, I was in the gym every single day and it became like an addiction to be at the gym.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I guess it's just if you pick a bad addiction or I guess they all can be bad.
Positive or negative addictions.
Correct. Yeah.
There was a theorist that talked about the difference in positive and negative addictions. Anything can be negative
True.
if it's overdone, right? I mean, you know, we've seen people who bodybuilding has become such an addiction that they didn't have a period for years, even
Yeah.
if they were in their 20s. So, that can be addictive and harmful, but so can buying shoes, you
I
know.
have handbag problems, so I understand that part too.
Okay. Yes.
I
Yeah.
traded the
So
gym for handbags.
that's, well,
I just go all in, Ellen.
yeah,
Everything I
whatever
do,
works.
my
Right.
addictive behavior just doesn't know what you're going to come up with.
You know, there are addictive behaviors and there are distractions, right? And there is a difference just in the so the physical part of what happens to us as far as whether we're distracting or whether it's an addiction, but there's a fine line and it's hard to know which is which. You know, gaming was thought to be a distraction for a long time, and it's clearly an addictive behavior. And you can see that in PET scans. You know, there's you
Really?
yes. Yeah.
And I'm
So
sure
what
social
happens?
media is about on
Absolutely.
that too.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So now, and you know, COVID sort of blew all that out of the water so that the people who may not have had a screen addiction in some way may have now.
Stayed in their house
Yes.
and picked up something else.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I just got to ask one more thing about addiction because I find this so fascinating.
Okay.
But if if you do think, do you go seek someone like yourself to work through the addiction, or is there things that you can do before to start with? Is there something that I'm just curious.
Absolutely. So I am a big proponent of support groups, particularly 12-step groups,
Okay.
just because of the incredible support. Um, you know, it's worldwide. It works, or it wouldn't be in so many countries. Um, and that's not enough for everybody. And there are other reasons why some people decide not to try support groups.
Embarrassment or ego, maybe a little bit. Is there other reasons? Just
Um,
timid?
I tend to think that is probably the greatest reasons is that people don't really want to admit that fear or be that vulnerable.
I agree.
So I'm writing a book currently called Dying to Connect. And it is about exactly that, how we fill up our lives with distractions because real connection is difficult. And when it comes to addiction, what 12-step programs require is connection. You know, what they provide is connection. But it means being able to be vulnerable with other people, and that's tough.
Yeah, you know what? I never really, until you just said that,
Mm,
saw that if you're like addiction, it does cut off your connection
it
to
does.
outside world, to your significant other, to everything. So
Yes.
I really didn't, yeah, because you're filling it with this vice versus going out and dealing with whatever you need to do
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Yeah.
I really never clicked that, I guess, with until you just said that.
When people grow up with trauma and bad things have happened, then sometimes what they learn is that people are scary. You know, people they don't trust that other people can meet their needs. And so connecting to something like alcohol or gaming or spending or whatever else that is, that's a feel good, that feels safe, safer than people. It makes sense that people sometimes connect to behaviors and processes to avoid being that vulnerable with people.
Tell me a little bit more about your book.
Okay.
I know you've been working on it for how long?
A while. I finished my doctorate in 2021
Okay.
and traveled for a while
Of course.
and then started the book. And you know what I found is that writing this book has been sort of its own living, breathing entity for me, in that what is considered a teaching memoir. So I'm writing about addictions and trauma and attachment and sort of the interplay with all of that and what it means for connection, and what it means for our society as a um, population that is striving for connection and don't always know how to meet the mark, right? You know it. Um, but at the same time, my story is woven through there because um, all of that is my story, so it makes it easy to weave the story in, as well as the stories of clients and other people who have experienced a lot of the same things.
The the first time I met you,
Hmm.
and it was a day one of Toastmasters. You were giving your speech, and I mean, I didn't know
That one.
that one.
Oops.
And normally I don't cry. You can ask Dawn.
Hmm.
Like I don't do, but I mean, just to see you up there, and I was like, oh my gosh, if this is what Toastmasters is all about, like I'm walking back out the door. It's like, but
I didn't mean to scare you
just
to death.
no, it was just you were so vulnerable up there, and I think that you
Mm.
were getting ready for something with the book, or you were speaking, or maybe you were getting ready to do a speaking engagement, something outside, and you were kind of practicing in front of us, but it was pretty raw.
So I didn't know that you were there. Um, and that is, you know, I think that I grew up with so much shame about the things that happened without my permission, that weren't that wasn't my shame. I carried someone else's shame for a long time.
Right.
Um, and it didn't belong to me. But it has been really difficult to share that part of my story because I let it become my shame, and I don't want to own that anymore.
And nor should you.
That being able to do that speech in a small group of Toastmasters that I had grown to know and love was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. But my purpose was to be able to step outside my shame, and stop owning someone else's.
No, you were super vulnerable that day and super brave at the same time. And
Thank you.
yeah, I just remember listening to your story and it was just amazing. I mean, not amazing, but amazing that I felt that you felt so safe in that group of people in that meeting that you could share. And I knew it was really hard for you, but I thought you did amazing that day. And, and then you
Thank
left.
you.
That was like your last meeting for a while. And then you came
Yeah.
back. Yeah. You were
Yes.
traveling.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm out.
Right. Yes.
See you in 2
Yeah.
months.
Let me get that out. I don't want to face you people again for a while.
No, I
Yes.
think,
Yeah.
and I that's like super hard to do because I felt like as we grew up, I was in an
Told not to
abusive.
talk about it.
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I kept my abuse from my grandfather. Uh, I mean, I still don't. I still haven't came out about it. This is actually the first time I've ever probably spoke about it anywhere. But that was the thing. It was like we're just gonna. You can deal
Hide
with
it.
this. You can hide this. And it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong, but that's just the way you just bury it and you
Yeah.
move on. It happened,
Yes.
and we're just gonna shove it underneath the rug,
Mm.
and you'll be okay. It'll be, much things have happened, or much worse things have happened to other people. So you're okay. You're here.
Yes. I am so bothered by that sentiment because I have clients so often who come in and say, yes, but I know worse things have happened to other people. There is no way to put a score on pain,
Correct.
right? That's everyone's pain is their pain, and it doesn't matter what someone else's pain has been, right? It doesn't
No,
make
because
it
you
okay to
don't
have
know.
this little bit of pain because somebody else had, was starved for years in a concentration camp. It
Correct. Yeah.
doesn't.
And I feel like a lot of the victims,
Mhm.
don't tell all the story.
Absolutely.
And there's parts that
Absolutely.
they forget, and not that they're just purposely not
Yes.
doing it, but they, just block out half
Yes.
that stuff. And
Yes.
um, that was like really hard. And I'm sure, and I don't know about you, but like
Mhm.
growing up, I felt like that's why I became such maybe a people pleaser for the longest time
Oh, yes. Yes.
because it was just
Oh,
easier to
yes.
do. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So tell me your story on that and see.
Well, that's one of my food addiction and codependency are the
Yeah.
two things that I consider my addictions, and people pleasing, and it it was a setup. I mean, I feel like my entire childhood was a setup to people please and toward codependency. So one of the things 2 years ago, I ended up having to have a repair of my repair of my heart
Oh, okay.
valve. Yes. Yes. So my heart valve was replaced again. Um and apparently, maybe in 20 years, if I'm still alive, I may have to have that done again. But it was that whole process. I was 5 years old when I had that surgery. I didn't know that my body held that trauma. I didn't have the words at 5 to cognitively process what that all meant. What I recognized 2 years ago when I was sort of going through that again and it was coming up was that was my mother's trauma. I was 5 years old. I didn't really know what was going on. She did. She had a child that was possibly dying. And watching her go through this was really difficult because I just for the first time realized that was her trauma.
And I'm sure my mom blamed herself for
Mhm.
my sisters when she did that, and
Yes.
it was like the Catholic belief that if you made too much money, then God would punish you
Oh,
for
yes.
all
Yes.
that. And so
Yes.
my dad had mean, my mom was a stay-home mom, but my dad had like a factory job that was very rare, just it was a blessing at that time for our
Yes.
family. And so her parents always thought that, she lived outside her means, which we did not at
Mhm.
all. But that's what I mean. I remember my grandmother telling my mom that you did this because,
Yeah.
you make too much money and bad things happened, yeah, all that. And so I totally get that about holding your mom's trauma. And I'm sure she kind
Absolutely.
of blamed something somewhere, or the one sip of wine she had at one point, or,
Well, so yes, my mother got pregnant with me when she was in Bible college,
uh,
and her mother had a nervous breakdown
over it.
over, yes, yes. So then when I was born blue, of course it was the curse, right?
Curse.
Yes. Yeah. So what I was able to recognize was that truly um my mother felt all of that, and my burden was to make sure that I was okay so she was okay.
Yep. It's
Um
isn't that vicious, like, or not vicious, but
yes,
it's just a
it's
cycle. And
yes. Yes.
yeah, it's just, and when you break one, I feel like there's another one that has started again,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes it goes the opposite way,
Mhm.
with all that, especially like how I was raised and then how I raised my kids, and then what they're going to do, how they're going to raise theirs. And
Yeah.
did I break a cycle, or did I make a worse cycle because you gave too much to it? Life's
Well,
complicated,
that
Ellen.
was and it was definitely a setup for people pleasing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Did you remarry?
No,
You're still single.
I am still single. I have been single for more than 30 years.
Is that on
Yeah.
purpose, or just you're not
Um,
looking, or
um,
tell me the deets?
I love my life.
Yeah, I get it.
I absolutely love my life. And if the stars aligned in a certain way, that could change. But at this point, I really love the freedom of being able to be who I am and it being okay.
And you're just one daughter.
Yes.
Okay.
One daughter and one
And
grandson.
one grandson.
Yes.
Okay. Did
Yes.
you do you think that you raised your daughter differently than how your mom raised you? Was there anything that you're just like, I'm not doing that with my daughter?
Um yes. There were some things I intended to do differently, but then you look back and say, but did I? The guilt.
Yes.
But did I? Probably. I mean, there definitely have been places in my parenting that I wish could have been different, and I will, continue to make amends for
Have you asked
what I
her the
did
same
not.
question of kind of like something that you parent that she said that she's going to change? Has she ever? I asked this because I just had my daughter, and we have my
Hmm.
first grandbaby's on the way. I know,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And
Yes.
I had her on the podcast. I was like,
Mhm.
so is there anything that I did that you're going to do different? And she was
Uh,
like, hell yes. And I was like,
mhm.
kind of hurt my feelings for a minute, but I didn't know. I was just curious to see.
Well, hopefully we learn,
True.
right, from the mistakes that our parents made. My I think one thing that I was determined not to do was stay in a marriage that I shouldn't be in, and I learned that from my mother. So,
No, and that was good.
and that has served me well, and not to stay for the children.
Yep.
And I think my daughter has appreciated that I didn't stay in what would have been a bad situation for her too if I had not left
Became
and
growth.
and
Yeah.
raised her alone.
Wow.
Um, she she is determined not to be so careful,
Okay.
and to allow her son, my grandson, to spread his wings a little further than I was able to do with her.
Okay.
I was too afraid. And she has, you know, And it's every time I've gone somewhere with them, and she lets Xander, is my grandson, like climb up a rock. I'm like,
It's like,
oh
Mom, it's going to be
no,
okay.
yes,
It's
yes,
going to be
and she'll
okay.
say,
So that's a good
he's a
balance for
boy, he
you.
can do this. Yes,
I
he
like
has.
that.
Yes, yeah.
So what's in
So,
the future? Final
um,
thoughts.
I hope to get this book published in the next 6 months.
Okay.
Um, got a TEDx coming up.
Amazing.
I'm excited about that. Want to present and give some speeches and do some good work. And
What's the next place to visit?
in a week and a half, I go back to Nepal for a month. Nepal is the home of my soul. It is.
Is that the favorite? Is that your favorite, or do you have a favorite?
Nepal is my favorite by far. That's where I did my research for my doctorate, and I fell in love with Nepal and actually went to get my doctorate because I really wanted a reason to go to Nepal. And it allowed me to
Makes
keep
sense.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I go and do trainings in Nepal or teach at the university or whatever I can do there. And this time I'm going back. I have 2-week-long trainings, 2 weeks apart that I'll
So it's not all
do.
pleasure. You're working.
Yes, I am
Okay.
definitely working, but it's doing what I love to do, and it's working with a population and a culture that I love to work with.
So if anybody's out there interested of
Mhm.
how to find you, how do they get a hold of you if they want you to come and speak at their conference or catch up in a session or something?
Yes, so you can find me either on Facebook, Ellen Elliott, or 4 Directions Counseling and Recovery Center. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and just revamping a website that should be up in the next week at 4directions.com. And so, yes, any of those places. I'm currently putting together also another business that will just be focusing on training and speaking. The name of the business is Bodhi to Bodhi, and I'm working on a website, but that isn't up yet. So, yeah.
You got
So
a lot
for
on your plate,
now,
girl.
yes,
I love
yes,
being busy.
and I'm excited about it.
And if she's in town, you can always come to Toastmasters on Tuesday at the Clean Eats
That's right.
corporate
Yes,
office, and
yes.
maybe you'll have
At
a
Clean
pleasure
Eats, yes,
of seeing her speak there.
yes, yes.
So check
So
me
critical.
out at Yvonne Verity on Facebook and Instagram and
Mhm.
TikTok now. And you can share this with your friends. We're on Spotify, Apple, all those good places, YouTube, and see you next time. And if you are looking for a special event place or to have your wedding or a birthday party, Christmas, whatever is coming up, please check out our website, vnvfarms.com. We would love to host your next event.